I think so. One of our clients sold us 3 jet aircraft 6 years ago. Right. Yeah. The pandemic.
Hello and welcome to a special guest clip from episode 171 on the Rockstar CMO effing Marketing Podcast, originally recorded on Saturday the 17th of June. I'm your host, Ian Truscott. I'm no rockstar, but on the Rockstar CMO podcast, I share the marketing street knowledge I've picked up on my journey from techie to CMO with the help of some true rock stars, my guests and chums, old and new, to inspire the marketing rockstar in you. You can find the full episode, past episodes, the show notes with links to our guests, our blog and newsletter on rockstarcmo.com, or follow the podcast on all good podcasting platforms. Just search for Rockstar CMO FM. In this clip, I go backstage with Mark Ordover, Chief Operating Officer at Evergreen Trading, a media investment firm that is powered by trade. It's a slightly different interview this week from normal, as Mark is not a marketer. But as you'll hear, his business is fascinating. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Welcome, Mark, to Rockstar CMO FM. How are you?
I am great. Thank you, Ian. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, you're very welcome. And where are we speaking to you from today?
Today, I am in South Florida, just a little bit north of Fort Lauderdale. I sort of split my time between New York City and South Florida. So after the holiday weekend here in the U.S., I'm staying here in sunny Florida.
Oh, that sounds great. Yes. And yeah, we're just recording this after the holiday weekend. So that's a nice place to be for the holiday, I think. So for people that haven't had by the way, we were introduced by Ted Rubin, and I have to mention him, obviously. And for people that haven't had that experience of either Ted or being introduced to somebody by Ted, tell us a bit about yourself, Mark.
Fantastic. Currently, I am the Chief Operating Officer of a solutions company, a media trading company called Evergreen Trading. Mm-hmm. Evergreen is based in New York City. We have about 110 people, about 30 clients, and probably in the neighborhood between $300 and $350 million in revenue. I have played many roles in this industry over the last 30 years. So the Chief Operating Officer role at this point gives me some good purview over the company's operations, both on the media side as well as the client side of our business.
Right, cool. And I mean, people like myself, I have to include myself in this, may not understand exactly what Evergreen Trading does. So explain that, and what's that model you were talking about trading?
Sure. As a solutions company, we're looking to provide business value to 2 main areas of constituents that we interrelate with. One are corporations that advertise to the consumer here in the U.S., and the other are technology and media companies that provide services and content for advertisers to reach those consumers. I'll focus on the corporate side at the moment. A typical interaction with a corporation would be a big brand name CPG company or a casual dining company, and they may have a couple of pieces of real estate where they've had closed stores. They're paying long-term leases on those stores, and we'll come in and let's say their remaining lease value is $2 million a year. Mm-hmm. And the best they're going to collect is somewhere around $300,000 to $500,000 in any sort of subtenancy. They're a big credit organization, so they can't get out of the lease. We come along and say, hey, how would you like $2 million of value? And we will take over those remaining leases. So at first, a little bit fantastical as a business solution. But the way that happens is they're also advertising to the consumer in the U.S. And of their $100 million hypothetical ad fund, we turn around and say, hey, we can execute this $10 million of your media, both qualitatively and quantitatively, and hit all of your business specs. However, you'll be able to use the real estate at $2 million and cash of $8 million to pay that bill. And if that works exactly the way I lay out, the company is going to create at least $1.5 million of real value for themselves. And the mechanism in which we use to transfer that real estate is we pay people in what we call a trade credit, which is a dollar denominated IOU on our company for use against that media. So that's the benefit. Did that come across as physical to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm fascinated by this. It's not something that's part of my regular everyday world. So that's why I was keen to have you on the show, because I think a lot of people are probably not familiar with this sort of thing that goes on. So you'd say you've got, did you say 30 clients who are doing this with you?
About 30 clients, yes.
Yeah. And is it always real estate swapping for media, or is there other stuff? How does that, what can be traded? What is traded in this?
This is one of the best parts of the business. I've been in this with two different companies. Evergreen's my second company for 30 years. And we have purchased such a plethora of things. So one of our clients sold us 3 jet aircraft 6 years ago. Right. Yeah. The pandemic, the unfortunate pandemic for all of us, came up and created so much surplus pandemic protective wear. So we think about hand sanitizer, masks, gloves, barricades. So I've had a lot of corporations, certainly on the retail side, say, hey, I have millions of dollars of this stuff that I don't need anymore. Would you consider buying that? And I said, yeah, let us look into it. Inventory from clients, cosmetics, food products, bulk food products, as long as it's legal, and we can figure out a way with the customer to move that physical inventory in a way that's safe, that complies with all local, state, and federal laws, and that works for the corporation. And Ian, that's where our creativity, quite frankly, a lot of passion in the organization comes about.
Yeah, that sounds, I mean, that must be a varied challenge depending on which product it is, and making sure that it's a win-win for both, right? For you and the customer, I imagine.
Absolutely. And there are times that our US-based customers have sold us soft goods. Think of apparel. We bought it in Hong Kong, didn't make it to the US in time for the selling season, and we were able to resell that in Europe. So selling the product can go just about as far as field as the economics will allow. A lot of times we will evaluate US-based product where customers want it to go to Latin America or Europe, but the labeling doesn't work. Freight may become costly. So there's the idiosyncrasies about every different product. Some of the easiest times are buying things that we can take out of what we'll call mainstream mass merchants and first line retailers, and the second line and third line retailers, think of the Dollar Generals and a whole host of those, are very fine alternatives. And so that creates value across the selling chain as well as for the U.S. consumer.
Right. Wow. And I guess there's a particular size an organization needs to be to work with you on this, right? So I guess that 30 clients you have, are they mostly big B2C kind of organizations? I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to name them, but what sort of companies are we talking about?
Yes, you hit it right on the head. So I would tell you that one of the best, I would say, pieces of an asset that our company owns is that list of clients. And since I don't get permission all the time, I don't name them, but I will tell you that 20 of the 30 clients, you will know all their names. They are giant B2C users. They're household names. We love that. We feel great when we get an assignment and we can try and grow that assignment into a regular, our goal is to be put into the procurement process every year. So our interactions with new customers begin as a transaction. And what we want to do is to grow into being a client relationship where every year in their planning process, they know that a certain amount of their media investment will run through us, creating a certain amount of value for them in surplus assets. And now we even have clients that turn around and suggest after the first or second time, what if I didn't give you an asset, but I wanted to take the value you create and use it to get extra media? extending my media investment, and we have figured that out as well. So
awesome.
that's
I think it's a fascinating model where a CMO might be looking at a warehouse and going, "There's some marketing budget in there. I want to spend it." So
well, we're getting Ian. That's a great comment, but more often than not, it's the real estate and the CFO thinking that, and now saying to the CMO, "Can you come along into this journey with us?" And quite candidly, their first blush at this, if they've never done it, is pretty much, "Why me? It's not my warehouse." Can you help me understand?
It's all budget, mate. I'm in. Don't you worry about it. And so that's. I think that's a good overview of Evergreen Trading. I wanted to dive into that because it's such a different model. And I was fascinated by it, and I want to share that with the listeners, hopefully. So, one of the things I thought was interesting as I dug into your background and your company is your company is 100% employee owned. Is that one of your kind of passions as a brand, and how does that work for you?
Absolutely. It is relatively recent. We're 2 years into our employee. In the US here, we call it ESOP, which is an employee stock ownership plan. The founder and CEO of the company sold his stake in the company to the company. And in order for the company to do that, we form a trust. The trust hires an outside financial advisor who negotiates with the CEO for a fair value to buy the shares. And then as long as you have worked for the company for a minimum of 1 year, then every year after that, you receive a certain amount of shares in the company as part of your compensation. You have to work a certain amount of the time for the company for the shares to be vested. But that's it. And what we're hoping comes from this journey is that the enterprise value of the company becomes more and more important rather than the siloed bonus programs like in every corporation. So you'll never lose that individual silo bonus mechanism, but the more that we can pull together on enterprise value creation, the more that everybody will benefit. So our owner thought was a great opportunity to transfer future success to the people working in the company.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great model, especially if you're in a growing company and, really sort of pulls the employees together and gets that engagement and loyalty and commitment, doesn't it? I think that's a great model for organizations. So now I want to explain about marketing, seeing this is a marketing show, aside from the realization that if I'm ever in a position where I've got a warehouse full of stuff that I can sell, that I'm going to send it your way so I can get some more budget. Apart from that realization, but you're not a marketer, but from your side of the commercial table, how have you viewed marketing through your career? How's it look to you?
That's a great question. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, or in this type of business model, I would say the best way to describe my perspective is being in the first 2 or 3 rows of a Broadway show, where the marketing orchestra is on stage, and I am very close to watching the show go on, but never being asked to be exactly on the stage. But let me put a little bit more intimacy around that. In no time, I've probably created transactions and steward transactions for several billions of dollars of media investment that ran through a solution mechanism like I'm describing. So I have some intimacy around how marketers engage with this. And I think I mentioned to you before, which is in some of the bigger companies that we interface with, if the real estate, procurement, and or financial folks find asset problems in the company that they're struggling with, and this solution presents them the highest and best solution for that struggling asset, we are executing that solution using media as a currency, and therefore needing to go get the marketing and media teams involved as what we'll call a user buyer. So in fairness to them, they have a lot of priorities on their plate. So usually when they're hearing about this for the first time, they're looking at this as their cup runneth over. they have to sort of be, they want to engage to figure out, is this going to seriously require them to put more effort into management of anything? Is the quality and the quantity of the media that we provide on trade going to meet the quality and quantity of the media that their agency provides? And those are all very reasonable commercial
I see.
questions.
Yeah,
but that's usually where that engagement process begins. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I hadn't appreciated that. So it's like a change of supplier, isn't it? In that they're very comfortable with who they're getting their media from today, and now you've come along. And even though you have a very innovative way of funding some extra budget for them, they're going to need to get to know you guys as a new marketing partner, right?
100%. And we generally will work with their agency as a subcontractor to the agency. So the agency still provides stewarding, evaluation, analysis. Again, the agency very much may have the same concerns about cup runneth over and so on from the marketing. But if I go back to my example earlier, honestly, one of the first things I'll sit down with the marketing folks and the finance folks is saying, look, what we've outlined here is the potential to create $1.5 million of value to the company using 10% of your budget. The question I have for you is that enough? And you need to because forget about all the homework and the due diligence that we can take you through. But if you feel like this is enough, then we're very interested in helping to take the leap of faith that may be as wide as the Grand Canyon right now and reducing it to a step where you can step over this and get comfortable, whether that's talking to other clients of ours or simply in the due diligence. I would also suggest that the finance folks that are leading this type of transaction, more often than not, will find a way to share that benefit with the marketing team so that the user buyer, in this case, the marketing and media folks, say, I understand that we're creating value for the company, and I also believe that we're creating some more value to make my job more successful.
That's the key, isn't it? That's the key when you're selling in any initiative into an organization is what's in it for me. Right?
People are people. And I think that's part of the art of bringing together multi-functions within a corporation so that everybody can be successful. But that's the way I would view the way marketing folks would be looking at me in a first blush of this conversation. Yeah.
So, and actually for your go-to-market as Evergreen Trading, then it sounds like there's quite a selective process in terms of, it's a narrow group of people that you're probably going to be having a conversation with. You talk about having 30 clients and the amount of revenue you get from those 30 clients. And it sounds like it's the CFO route into an organization for you. Is it always finance and not marketing?
No, we will generally we're looking at the C-suite or right below the C-suite, looking for solutions that we can create. And sometimes it very well could be marketing. If I've listened to a CEO and a CFO on their annual report with investors, discuss some critical things the company wants to accomplish in this particular next 12 months. And if I think one of them can be solved through the marketing, we very well may craft a message to the marketing folks and said, hey, I heard the 3 tenets that the CEO put out. One of them is directly in your ballpark. I think we can create a solution here that drives this faster and quicker. Could we have a conversation? The asset side of this thing, clearly, we're looking at real estate, procurement, inventory folks, trying to find a way that we can craft a proposal. Sure.
No, I think this is really interesting because I imagine that sparked some really interesting C-suite conversations that they wouldn't have had, right?
Hey, well, I will tell you this. Interestingly enough, 30 years ago, there was a handful of companies in the U.S. and probably around the world that were doing this. And the major multinational agency holding companies did not participate in this, and basically were very much, don't do this. It's not going to work well. If you fast forward to June 1st of 2023, every agency holding company has developed a version of this solutions-oriented, not nearly as robust on the asset side. Buying jet planes is scary for
for IPG or somebody.
Correct. That's not something they tend to want to be involved in. But everybody is trying to participate in some shape or form in this solutions orientation, if you will.
That's fascinating. And what advice do you give to marketers when they're engaging with commercial leaders in the business, like these kinds of conversations? I guess just to have an open mind. But what would you say if you were on that side of the table?
I think you actually answered it, and I want to try.
I try not to
be. Well, look, there's a version of, from my spot in the corporation, if I'm reaching into the corporation somewhere, and I really would like to try and wrap brains around a certain new process in the company, it's difficult if another leader in the company below me just absolutely says I'm not engaging.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard. And you may be able to get away with that. You may not. I find that it's better to debate this with a drop of rigor, to really find out operationally what value it creates or takes away. Is that financially value creation or not?
Yeah.
And importantly, one of the things I'll say to companies, is it measurable? Is it repeatable? And is it scalable? And if we can't do those three things, then I am the first one to say, hey, Ian, this is probably not for you. You're running a $200 million ad budget. You have big goals today.
Yeah.
In most cases, Ian, I think that's possible. It's based on the level of homework and due diligence.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. All right, well, I've let time fly away as usual, and I'm going to get to our final question. So we have a regular feature, the Rockstar CMO, to import our portal to marketing hell, where we throw all the bullshit, snake oil and overhyped trends that plague this marketing craft we love. Well, I know you're not a marketer, so you're an honorary member of this particular club. What would you chuck into our pool, mate?
Wow, that could be the hardest question you asked. I say this. I'm going to go back to my perch in the first row of a wonderful Broadway play featuring rock star CMOs. And if I was on this stage, I would go back to what I said. I think that the speed and rapidity of which technology is changing, I think everybody talks about wanting to discuss their product and services one-on-one with a consumer.
Yeah.
But if you're a big CPG company, a big telecom company, pharma, you name it, and you need to talk to 35 million US folks, doing it one-to-one is possible. It's a big task, right? Yeah. And the technology supply chain that's required to change messaging, pricing, optimize by media channel to try and get that feedback can become all encompassing. So I think that's a big bucket of I'm not going to use some of the words that I heard you said, but I think that could take your mind's eye off of things that are really important, which is, are we putting the right product in the marketplace? Are we putting the right price on it? And then am I using that chain to figure out whether the messaging and the product is right for the target audience I think exists out there? Yeah. And not to get so caught up in every shiny new penny. AI is really important right now, right? But if I was a COO of one of these companies, somebody else in the organization has to be looking at this, because if I let myself go to every one of these things, I don't know how to be great at anything. So I think maybe that's an answer for all C-suite folks, including myself.
I love that. I don't think you're the first person to chuck into the pool the distractions of the shiny things. And I think we marketers are the worst at that. I think that's perfect. Thank you very much, Mark. And when people spin the dial on the interwebs, where are they going to find you? Evergreen Trading? And are you on LinkedIn, stuff like that?
Absolutely. Evergreentrading.com. Please come visit us. I am on LinkedIn, and I would love to engage in any conversation and debate around why media trading provides valuable solutions to marketers.
Splendid. Well, I find your model absolutely fascinating, and I'm glad you came on the show. Thanks very much, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, buddy. Bye. Thank you, Mark. Very nice chap. And as I said at the start, a fascinating business. And you can find all of his links in the show notes, along with the full episode on rockstarcmo.com, where you can also find all of our previous episodes, the blog, newsletter, links to subscribe, all of the good stuff. Right, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this special YouTube exclusive clip. If you did, please drop a like, comment, or subscribe, as I intend to be dropping more content in here soon. Until then, I've been your host, Ian Truscott. I hope you'll again join me here on Rockstar CMO FM.